योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचाम् मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिद्धारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर् गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः हरिः ओम्। So we are on Sutra 4.11. hetuphalāśrayālambanaiḥ saṅgṛhītatvādeṣāmabhāve tadabhāvaḥ. In the previous session, we talked a little bit about the Sutra, but we had not yet gone into the Bhashya. So today, we'll go into the Vyasa Bhashya. And just so we recollect the context, in the Sutra before this, the anāditvam means the beginninglessness of vasanas was established as part of Sutra 4.10. Tāsām anāditvam chāshisho nityatvat. So then a question arose that if it is beginningless, does that mean it doesn't have an end and therefore the vasanas will always be there? And then where is the question of kaivalya, etc.? So there is no way to get rid of vasanas. Because generally something that is anadi is also ananta. Without beginning means without end. But here this sutra is answering that, as we saw last time when we looked at the sutra. It is answering that by means of first understanding what vasanas are sort of made of. How do they come about? What sustains them? And four things have been identified: hetu, phala, ashraya, and alambanam. So now with these making up, sustaining the vasanas, this sutra says, eṣāmabhāve, when they are no longer present, tadabhāvaḥ, the vasanas are also no longer existing. So that is the answer to the question, how will the vasanas come to an end, so that there is some chance for kaivalya. Now we look at the bhashya, because last time we had explained the sutra, so we won't repeat that. So let's begin directly with the bhashya. So Vyasa begins. Vyasa says, hetuhu dharmat sukham adharmat dukkham. Sukhat rago dukkhat dveshaha. Tatascha prayatnaha. So what Vyasa is doing is elaborating on what is this hetu. Hetu means what is the cause of the vasanas to come about. What causes them? And it's a long multi-sentence elaboration. So we'll take a look at each part. So he begins by saying, he is explaining hetu by saying dharmat sukham adharmat dukkham. So dharma means meritorious acts leads to sukha, which is in some sense pleasant, joyous consequences as per the karma siddhanta. So the karma says that meritorious acts leads to good circumstances and therefore pleasant, joyous experiences. Adharma, non-meritorious actions lead to troubling, saddening circumstances, as in some sense if something bad was done, the consequences have to be borne, and therefore that leads to sorrow. So dharmat sukham adharmat dukkham. What happens then? Sukhat rago dukkhat dveshaha. So if there is sukha due to dharmic actions, that sukha leads to raga. Raga means attachment for that kind of pleasant circumstances and experiences. So raga is that attachment. Dukkha dveshaha. If whenever dukkha is experienced, which is said to arise from some non-meritorious actions done in the past, which was adharma, then that dukkha, the experience of that leads to dvesha. There is complete dislike, a desire to go away from those particular type of circumstances, experiences, and consequences. So that is a kind of a hate or a dislike, which is dvesha. So dharmat sukham, adharmat dukkham, sukhat rago, dukkhat dveshaha. Tatascha prayatnaha. Now, because there is raga or dvesha, as the case may be, there is prayatna. Prayatna means volitional activity. In case of attachment, there is a desire to maintain those circumstances which are desirable, and therefore there is activity to try to have it continue. The pleasant circumstances that is leading to sukha. On the other hand, if there is dukkha, there is desire to get rid of those circumstances causing dukkha. And again, there is activity which is prayatna. So tatascha prayatnaha. In either case, there is going to be prayatna of one kind or the other. What then? Tena manasa vacha kayena va parispandamanaha param anugrannati upahanti va. So the prayatna leads to what? Manasa vacha kayena va. Either through the mind or through speech or through body. Parispandamanaha. Having been set into motion, having shown having been activated by the reaction of the raga and dvesha through mind, body, or speech. Param anugrannati. Either a person will favor another, upahantiva, or torment another. Because any worldly circumstances, whether pleasant or unpleasant, if you have to either sustain it or get rid of it, there is activity of nature of either accumulating something like accumulating wealth or trying to get away from something, showing anger, dislike, etc., which invariably causes either a good deed for the other or a bad deed with respect to another. So, param refers to anyam jivam. So, another being. Another being is being either favored or being troubled. So, param anugrannati upahanti va. The moment such activity takes place, tataha punaha dharmadharmau sukhadukkhe ragadveshau iti pravrittam idam shadaram samsara chakram. So nicely, beautifully it is being sort of summarized. It says, so once again, the moment there is prayatna, once again the moment there is activity through mind, speech or body, which is affecting another being, either favorably or unfavorably, the moment that happens, again there is dharma dharmo. Either the action being done is meritorious as per dharma, non-meritorious, so adharma. In either case, depending on what it is sukha dukkha in a consequence. Again, sukha dukkha is going to lead to raga dvesha, attachment or dislike and hate. So what happens is pravrittam idam shadaram samsara chakram. This worldly cycle, or here the worldly wheel, having 6 spokes. Which are the six spokes? Dharma, adharma, sukha, dukkha, raga, dvesha. So the world wheel of six spokes. Shadaram, shad means six, aram means spokes. Samsara chakram means the wheel, the world wheel. Pravrittam, it is going on. It is constantly spinning. So, asya cha pratikshanam avartamanasya avidya netri. So, all this worldly wheel which is going on every moment of this wheel, the leader, netri means one who leads, one who carries. Who is the leader? It is avidya. In what sense? Moolam sarvakleshanam. This is something we have already seen when we were discussing klesha. Avidya asmita raga dvesha vinivesha. In that avidya kshetram uttaresham, we had seen that. So avidya is the moolam, the root of all the kleshas. So that avidya is the root of all of this worldly wheel. And this avidya itself, ityesha hetu. This itself is the hetu. So if you try to analyze vasana, try to find the cause, in the ultimate analysis, where you arrive is to say, avidya after all is the hetu of vasanas. So this is what Vyasa is making clear here. Now, so this is the first thing that makes up vasanas, hetu, as mentioned in the sutra. So the second one is phala. Now Vyasa will address what is phala. Phalam tu yam ashritya yasya pratyutpannata dharmadehe nahi apurvopajanaha. So phalam is the dharma adharma that was mentioned, meritorious action, non-meritorious action, that was undertaken for whatever purpose. Yam ashritya yasya pratyutpannata. So the dharma came about by taking recourse to some particular desired consequence. That desired consequence is phalam. So yam ashritya yasya pratyutpannata dharmadehe, that is the phala with respect to the constitution and existence of vasanas. Now that phala, it says, whatever was undertaken for whatever purpose. And then a small note, important note, in this context which we will see, it will come about. It says, nahi apurvopajanaha. This phala is not something that is created or comes into being from nothing. Okay? Because as we'll see further elaboration coming later, and we have seen it earlier also, the Yoga Shastra completely accepts Satkaryavadaha. So whatever comes about from something that already existed. So the effect comes about from a cause. Nothing can be produced out of nothing. So anything that is produced is a transformation of something that already existed. So here we'll see that in more detail later. But here, since the term nahi apurvopajanaha is used, I thought I'll mention here. So with respect to phalam, it is being clearly said that all of this that is happening, which gives rise to dharma adharma activity, so that is for the one for which, or the thing for which that was dharma had to take place, that is phalam. Okay. The third one is ashraya. What is ashraya? Manahatu साधिकारम् आश्रयो वासनानाम् नहि अवसिताधिकारे मनसि निराश्रया वासनाः स्थातुम् उत्सहन्ते. So, what is the adhikara? What is the ashraya? What is the sort of the abode? What is the support, the substrate for all these vasanas to be existing? It is the manas. So it is the mana, usually translated as mind. So this manas, but here it is clearly said manas to sadhikaram ashrayo vasananam. So is it any manas? So it is qualified by saying the sadhikaram manas. So what is the sadhikaram manas? The sadhikaram manas means that manas which is sort of the, in a way, the normal manas, which has the kleshas, etc. There is a karmashaya, which means it is worldly, it is not reached the state of almost being ready for kaivalya. So that is sadhikaram. So there is still bhoga that remains because the samskaras still remain, the karmashaya still remains. So in this case, and in a sense, the purushartha still remains. So the sadhikaram manas is the resting place or the habitat for vasanas. And then it is clarified, nahi avasitadhikare manasi nirashraya vasanaha statum utsahante. And definitely, if the manas is avasitadhikara, means its purpose for existence of the manas has gone away. It has no adhikara anymore. Because all the purusharthas are complete, it is time for kaivalya. There is no samskara, there is no karmashaya, there is no bhoga pending. At that stage, the vasanas simply won't exist there. Nahi avasita adhikare manasi, in this mind, nirashtrayaha vasanaha. Now the vasanas have no support, no place. So they don't wish to reside there anymore. Na sthatum utsahante. They show no eagerness to remain. Okay, so that is the literal translation. So the moment the manas has no adhikara left, it is almost on the threshold of kaivalya, no karmashaya, no kleshas remaining, avidya has gone away, then the vasanas won't be eager to remain there anymore. Vasanaha na sthatum utsahante, says Vyasa. So that is about ashraya. So we have seen hetu, phala and ashraya. Now, alambanam. Yad abhimukhi bhutam vastu yam vasanam vyanakti tasyaha tat alambanam. So, as you know, the vasanas sort of always exist. They are beginningless, but they are manifested when the manifesting triggers come about. So that manifesting trigger is known as alambanam, because yad avimukhi bhutam. So when the vasana comes face to face, so that is avimukhi bhutam, coming face to face. That thing to which when a vasana comes face to face, it gets manifested or activated, that is vyanakti. That thing is the alambanam for that vasana. So for example, somebody looking at a rose, certain vasanas get activated. So in that case, the rose is the alambanam for those vasanas. So yad abhimukhi bhutam vastu yam vasanam vyanakti tasyaha tad alambanam. So Vyasa has clearly explained what is hetu, phala, ashraya and alambanam. Now, evam hetu, phala, ashraya, alambanaihi, etaihi, saṅgṛhītaः sarvā vasanaha. Okay, so in this way, all the vasanas are made of, are constituted by these, etaihi, these hetu, phala, ashraya and alambanam. Esham abhave tat saṅgṛhītatvādeṣāmabhāve api vasanānām abhāvaḥ. So, therefore, when these four things do not exist, esham abhave, when hetuphalāśrayālambanaiḥ do not exist, then the vasanas that are propped up by these, because vasanas are sort of constituted, they are sustained by these four things. When these four things don't exist, then the vasanas also do not exist. Vasanānām abhāvaḥ. So this is Vyasa's explanation of this sutra, and he makes it very clear what it means, that even though vasanas are beginningless, vasanas do come to an end. When do they come to an end? When the hetu avidya or the phala, the consequence, that the desired consequence leading to dharma dharma, or the ashraya, which is the manas, which is still has klesha karma, so it is sadhikaram manas, or the alambanam, those things that when one comes to face with leads to the manifesting of vasanas. If these four go away, because the vasanas are made up of them, the way to end the vasanas is to tackle these four. And when these four go away, the vasanas will also go away. So that is Sutra 4.11 along with the Bhashya.
So, the question cropped up as you heard just now, because the vasanas got mentioned to be anadi in the previous sutra, the 10th sutra. The vasanas, and this is heard by everyone who has some kind of orientation to spirituality, knows that vasanas are anadi, vasanas are beginningless. So comes an ontological question here, that if something is anadi, it should be ananta. If something is beginningless, it should be endless. So then the problem comes up to postulate moksha, nirvana, kaivalya, mukti, etc. Therefore, now that question is being answered. No doubt vasanas are anati, absolutely beginningless. But the vasanas are a kind of assemblage, they are assembly of certain factors. So this is to be understood. We speak about vasanas often in spiritual realm, but these vasanas are assembly. Now, if it is assembly, then how is the thing? Say, for instance, the example can be taken that there is a television and you are able to watch that as a television. It serves as a purpose as being a television. But suppose all the components of it are disassembled. You have complete television with you, but it doesn't function as television. It doesn't serve the purpose of being television, although television is actually there. Like it's called television kit. So in the television kit, you will have complete television, but unless it is assembled properly, all those components are assembled, it won't function as television. A television in the kit doesn't function as television, although you have television. So it has to be actualized. It is actualized as with the help of assemblement. So if it is disassembled, although it is there, television is there, but not there. So that's the aspect of any assemblement. So here we are told that vasana is not an entity by itself, but it is assembly of some factors. Now, if they are assembly of these factors, if they are they are disassembled, factors are separated out, then you won't have the vasana as such. So basically, it is to be understood, vasana is not an entity by itself, but it is assemblage of certain factors. And therefore, if they are dissembled, although vasanas are there, they don't work as vasanas. Like television is there in its kit, but doesn't work as television. It doesn't serve purpose as television, although 100% television is available in the kit. So these are factors. And that is why the moksha is postulated and it cannot be dislodged. Postulation of kaivalya, moksha, nirvana cannot be dislodged just because of the fact that vasanas are anadi. Because vasanas are said to be assembly of some factors. So what are those factors of assembly? hetuphalāśrayālambanaiḥ. And you just now heard the delineation of all those. And the hetu here is summed up as avidya. And Vyasa beautifully tries to articulate us through his couple of lines of commentary how they are the avidya manifesting, blooming, blossoming becomes the cause. That's a causal factor. So you just now heard about Vyasa's commentary, hetuhu, dharma, sukham, adharma, dukkham, etc. So he has beautifully explained that and you heard about it. The point is, it is summed up as avidya. Avidya is hetu. Because of avidya, all these things happen. Suggest Shadara Chakra, which you heard about just now. Dharma, dharma, sukha, dukkha, raga, dvesha. So that is six-spoked wheel, which is our life actually. And if you recall, this was discussed by us in the Karma Siddhanta of the second chapter. The Shadara Chakram, the worldly wheel. So avidya is the hetu. So as long as avidya component is in the assembly, naturally vasanas will stay. Then ashraya. Ashraya is locus, support for the vasanas. Which is the support for vasanas? Where do the vasanas reside? So vasanas reside in the chitta, the mind stuff. So as long as vasanas are residing in the chitta, that means the vasanas are operative. It's like television set kept on its stand on a table and you are able to watch the television. It is not in the kit. It is mounted on the wall or it is on the table. So the hetu is avidya, ashraya is chittam. The chitta houses the vasanas. The chitta is anadi. It is also timeless, beginningless. So chitta houses the avidya, klesha. And avidya klesha is the cause, is the hetu of vasanas. And you heard about the phala, hetu phala. The phala is the consequences due to avidya. When avidya is there, you will know asmita, raga, dvesha, all that happens. And we get raga, dvesha, dharma, pravrutti, nivrutti, karma, all these things happen. So, that is the phala, consequence of vasanas. When vasanas are there, vasanas do something. And if avidya is there, it will do something. So the phala is the aspect. Ashraya is the chitta. And alambana are the objects. Shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandhadi, vishayas. They are objects. So vasanas are in our mind, but the triggers are out in the sensory objects, mental objects. They trigger the vasana. As you heard the example, the rose. If somebody has bewitchment for rose, the bewitchment is a vasana which is residing in the chitta. But It manifests when there is a rose at sight, or when the rose appears in the mind, in imagination, or the object of rose manifests in front of the eyes. So that is the alambana. Shabdadi Vishayas are triggers. They trigger the vasana, which is dormant. Only when there is a trigger to a vasana, then the vasanas manifest and we start doing all those reactions come about, which is the phala of vasana, as you just now heard. Effect of vasana. If the vasanas are there, what do they do? We can imagine what do they do. Dharma, karma, papa, punya, etc., etc. So, hetu, phala, ashraya, alambana. These are the four components of vasana. They come together and vasana is formed. Now, as I said in the example, if the television components are disassembled, it doesn't function anything as television. Any object which is of several parts, if they are separated, it doesn't serve purpose as that object. Like car disassembled doesn't work as a car. Machine disassembled doesn't work as a machine. Vasanas disassembled don't work as vasanas. And therefore, the vasanas can be gone. For instance, the ashraya, the chitta itself, if it is dissolvable, and if the chitta is dissolved in the process of kaivalya, the support for vasanas will not be there. If the support for vasanas are not there, they won't be able to reside there. If they don't reside there, then they are not there. They are as good as not there. So that's why moksha, nirvana, kaivalya is reinforced. The concept is reinforced. The reality is also reinforced by saying that vasana is collocation of certain factors, assemblement of certain factors, and there are four factors. If these four factors are disassembled, then it is as good as no vasanas. And therefore, there can be end to vasanas. The spiritual seeker should not be dreaded, need not be dreaded about this assumption of the fact that if the vasanas are anadi, they are not going to spare us, they are not going to leave us. So it is possible that vasanas can be gotten rid of. It is because of the four factors such as hetu, phala, ashraya, alambana. Hetu, the cause. Phala, the consequence. Consequence of avidya, consequence of objects in front of us. And ashraya, consequence of the alambana chitta, the adhara chitta, which is sadhikara. So sadhikara chitta means the sattva-rajatama gunas are able to exercise their power. They are functional. If they are functioning on the chitta, it is called sadhikara chitta. When sattva-rajatama gunas cannot function or cannot have power to work over the chitta, then that is samaptadhikara chitta. And we have considered samaptadhikara chitta in earlier part of the text. Sadhikara chitta has been considered earlier. Sadhikara means power of gunas to work. And for an accomplished person, the gunas are there but don't work. They don't have power to work. So that's how the hetu goes. And we have seen hetu goes by way of darshanam, if you recall the second chapter. Samyak jnanam, the avidya will go away. So hetu will go away. Ashraya, the chitta, will go away when it becomes samaptadhikara and it is not sadhikara. So the objects also will lose the power to trigger vasanas. And that's how the moksha, nirvana, kaivalya is a probability. And that's how the question has been answered, that although vasanas are anadi, they have anta. They are santa. It is because of the four components which formulate vasana. So it's a very interesting topic that we have discussed in this sutra, and major question is solved. Although vasanas are anadi, they need not be ananta, for the reason that they are assembly. Okay.
Now we look at the next sutra 4.12. And before that, Vyasa gives a preamble that provides the context as to why that next sutra is there. Vyasa asks a question. He says, Nasti asataha sambhavo nachasti sato vinasha iti dravyatvena sambhavantyah katam nivartishyante vasanaha. So Vyasa is saying, we all know and we all accept that something that does not exist cannot come about. Nasti asataha. Asat means does not exist. Sambhavo nasti, so it cannot come about. Similarly, nachasti sataha vinashaha. Something that exists sat, there is no destruction of it. In that case, dravyatvena sambhavantyah katam nivartishyante vasanaha. In that case, vasanas are dravya. Dravya means actual entities. They have come about as actual entities. Then, how can they go away? So basically, there's a further questioning of the point made in the previous, or the sutra that we just saw, that okay, vasanas are made up of these things, and when they don't exist, vasanas will go away. They will be destroyed or whatever. But then an opponent may point out that you yourself say that something that does not exist cannot come about, something that exists cannot go away. Then how come these vasanas can go away? So that is the context in which this sutra is going to come. There is another text that nicely puts forth the question, so I'll read that as well. It says, Nanu vasanānām atyantochedābhyupagame sakāryavāda hāni prasangaha. So is it not that if we accept that the vasanas are going to completely go away, is that not going to lead to satkaryavada hani? So is that not going to go away, go against your own principle of satkaryavada, which means, like I just described in the beginning of the session, that whatever comes about never comes out of the blue. It always existed in a certain state or form, and the transformation led to something to come about. But now, it says if you are going to accept the complete destruction of vasanas, isn't it against your own principle? Satkaryavada pakshe asataha sambhavasya sato vinashasya cha anangīkārāt. In your own principle of Satkaryavada, asat will not come about, sat will never get destroyed. Ata eva, and it says therefore, na atyanta uchchedaha. Vasanas cannot be completely destroyed. Tada kutaha kaivalyavarta. If these vasanas are never going to completely destroyed, then there is the question of discussing kaivalyam. Kutaha kaivalyavarta. How can we even touch upon kaivalya? So the same, whatever the question Vyasa raised, has been raised in that another text in a slightly more colorful language. And that is where the Sutra 4.12 comes about. It says, atītānāgataṃ svarūpato'styadhvabhedāddharmāṇām. It says, there is of the dharmas, means attributes. Okay, there is an adhva bheda. Adhva, in some sense, it is a part, but here we can say it is like the kala or time. In fact, it is said adhva shabdaha kala vachanaha. So here, in terms of time, there is a bheda, there is a distinction, which is of atita and anagata. So these dharmas can exist. Dharmas means attributes of a single thing. There are multiple attributes, and they may exist in different states, different adhvas. And those different states are atita and anagata. Atita means it has happened. Anagata means it is yet to happen. So, in its own fundamental form, it can be in an atita or anagata state. Okay, and that is going to settle this question of how come the vasanas, how can you say that that is going to go away? Because the vasanas, it need not be said that it is destroyed and go against the satkaryavada, but one can say that it obtains the atita state, which means atita means it has come and happened, it is not going to manifest again. So they go in a state where they won't manifest again. So that details of this will be further elaborated in the Bhashya. So as you can see in the Kaivalyapada, some of the technical finer points are being discussed, and this whole Yoga Shastra is sort of being completed, fortified against any possible loopholes that an opponent may bring about. So in some sense, that is what is happening here, where the vasanas, their appearance, going away, etc. is being discussed. But as part of that, the underlying Siddhanta, the coherence of this whole Siddhanta is being established, and therefore we have to sort of go through some of these technical aspects of the text with a proper understanding of why it is done and how it can be well understood without any doubts arising. So that is Sutra 4.12. atītānāgataṃ svarūpato'styadhvabhedāddharmāṇām. Next we'll see Vyasa's Bhashya on it.
So, as one question was solved, that vasanas were doubted to be anadi and therefore it would be ananta. So that was set aside. But see, the critical mind, which works in Darshanik system, brings out another question. It says, okay, we accept that the vasanas have an end, but then it is also going against your own postulations of Satkaryavada. So what happens to then Satkaryavada? Satkaryavada is bruised by your postulation that vasanas, although anati, are santa. That means they go away, and that's how you postulate your kaivalya, moksha, nirvana, mukti. So that's the prima facie view here, that then your Satkaryavada, which is again a strong foundational kind of tenet, is shaken. That means it is compromised with. Because if the vasanas have existence, then they are said to be going into non-existence. And if the vasanas are non-existent by idealistic view, then they come into existence. So what doesn't exist should not exist, or what exists should not go into non-existence. This is what is your Satkaryavada, which is a strong foundational tenet. So that is really compromised if we accept that, okay, vasanas were there from time without beginning, but they have now gone. They existed, but they have gone. So how do you account for this? So that the answer is now coming up in this form of sutra here. So the sutra, as you heard, atītānāgataṃ svarūpato'styadhvabhedāddharmāṇām. hetuphalāśrayālambanaiḥ. So what really is the answer here? So that our satkaryavada is intact and vasanas coming to an end is also intact, because that is important. Those are foundational rocks of our philosophy, and therefore the answer to this new question is now being answered in the 12th sutra by way of something like advabhedam and dharma and atītānāgataṃ. So if everything is existing, even all the existent thing which is in a phase before manifestation is anagata, and after having manifested it can go to atita, but yet it remains. The tree that you see on the field, on the ground, before the tree came into existence, the tree was in some form there. That is anagata form, potential. The potential tree was there in the seed. And even if the tree falls, a tree is cut, tree is gone, it goes to only latency. So there is nothing like destruction as ecology postulates. What exists cannot be destroyed. It is only change in forms. So that is how it is explained in ecology. Here also, Patanjali is now going to describe this, how our Satkaryavada is intact. We are not compromising with Satkaryavada in postulation of the fact that vasanas are santa. Vasanas can end. What is that meaning of vasanas end? Because if they are existent, this is to be accepted. Now, if they are existent, if they are ending, what is the form of their ending? If they are existing, what is the form in which they exist? Is presented in the arguments of the 12th sutra. Okay.
So now let's look at Vyasa's Bhashya. Vyasa starts by saying Bhavishyat Avyaktikam Anagatam Anubhuta Vyaktikam Atitam Svavyaparoparudham Vartamanam. So Vyasa is now first briefly telling us what are the three adhvas, the three kalas, three states which we correlate to time and say past, present, future, etc. Here it is clear that it is about time, but the framework here is of states, adhvas, and it is bhavishyat, that adhva, and also look at the sequence. So bhavishyat it is in a state where it is yet to come. So the things still, before they come, they manifest, they are in a bhavishyat state, they are in a potential state. So it is avyaktikam anagatam, unmanifested and yet to come. Anubhuta vyaktikam atitam. Atitam means something that has manifested and has been experienced. So anubhuta vyaktikam, that has been experienced, that is atitam. And svavyaparoparudham vartamanam, that which is functioning, which allows vyapara, which means jnana can interact with it, vyavahara can happen. It is in the state of manifestation that is known as vartamanam. So future, past, present, all has been discussed and described. Bhavishyat avyaktikam anagatam anubhuta vyaktikam atitam svavyaparoparudham vartamanam. Trayam chetat vastu jnanasya jneyam. So the underlying framework here, and this is also coming in Nyaya Shastra, etc., is the knowability is considered as a fundamental trait of everything. So more than past, present, future, and time exists. The framework here is vyaparam is knowability. Something is jneya. It can be known. So Trayam chetad vastu jnanasya jneyam. So here it is said that all three, the anagatam, anubhutam, and vartamana, all three is knowable by jnanam. Yadi cha etat svarūpataḥ na abhavishyat nedam nirvishayam jnanam udapatshyate tasmat atītānāgataṃ svarūpataḥ asti iti. So one may question whether these three things are part of the essential form, svarūpataḥ. And here it is said, yes, each and every entity has these three aspects as part of their svarūpa. So as part of the svarūpa, all the dharmas or attributes have at all times, only however in different adhvas, the atita, anagata and vartamana adhvas, or three, let us call them states or whatever. Because why? Because all three of these states have the property of knowability. For example, we have seen a yogi who gets a complete yogika pratyaksham or complete jnanam. The yogi, for yogi is knowledge, or for any unimpeded jnanam, unimpeded knowledge, all three things, all three states of a thing, whether it's potential future state, its past state, its present state, all of them can be part of the known. So it is all knowable. Now, if these were not existing, okay, how could have they been knowable? Therefore, it is said that all these three states, for any vastu, always exist. They are always part of, that is proved by them being always part of what is knowable. And tasmat atītānāgataṃ svarūpataḥ asti. So the first thing that is established is the svarūpataḥ asti, which is part of the sutra. It is atītānāgataṃ svarūpataḥ asti adhvabhedāddharmāṇām. So all of these very much exist. It is just that there is a adhvabhedaḥ. I think this is slightly technically refined and there is a bit of further bhashya. So let us not continue the bhashya at this point and let this sort of soak in our minds that what is the subject matter, and finally what is being explained is that when the question comes, how can vasanas get destroyed completely, then for a proper resolution of that issue, Patanjali and Vyasa are bringing about this adhvas and the proper explanation of the three states or adhvas, which is atita, anagata and vartamana, and firstly establishing that these very much exist in the svarupa because they are knowable by proper jnanam. And at this point we'll stop and further discussion, which is quite meticulous and we have to learn with giving enough time and attention to it. We will take it up in the next session.
So the Satkaryavada of metaphysicists, when they say it is existent, something is existent, will never cease to exist. So when the thing is existent, it will be existing in different phases and different forms. What are those? Potential state, actual state, and latent state. When the tree is in front of you, actual tree, the tree is existing before it has come to actuality. The tree has been there in earlier forms, such as seed form, flower form, etc., etc. It was there. Fruit form, the tree was there. Before the tree came up. The tree came up from the seed. The seed came from the flower, or seed came from the fruit. So, when metaphysicists speak about something existent, sat, that sat can be existing either in actual state or potential state or latent state. Even suppose the tree is destroyed. If the tree is destroyed, it no longer is tree, but then it is existing in some form. It could be any form, up to ash form. The tree will exist in some form or the other. So, existent and non-existent concepts are to be taken in the light of metaphysics and metaphysicists' positions. So, in all those states, svarūpataḥ, they exist. The tree svarūpataḥ exists in seed form before its existence, actualization. And seed exists, the tree exists in some form after it is no longer tree, but it has gone to latency and has transformed into some other forms. Might have become earth, or what might have become ash, or whatever. It still exists. And they are all objects of knowledge. Atītānāgataṃ, these three, the states, actual, potential, latent, are objects of knowledge. So basically, the sat, existent, is not to take as actual state. It should be taken either actual or potential or latent. And then the thing will exist svarūpataḥ, by its intrinsic essential form. It does exist. So that's the satkaryavad to be understood from light of metaphysics view and the metaphysics, and not empiricism, that the tree was not there 10 years back and now the tree has come. After 40 years, the tree will not be there. So this is our empiricism. So Satkaryavada is not based on empiricism, but metaphysics. Okay, anyway, let's try to discuss this in our discussion of the following part of the Bhashya. Okay.
Okay. So we'll recite the shlokas on Guruji and stop for today. Vajñānikam pravaktritva āsaneshu kalavidam yogābhyāse ca tatvajñam vandeham sundaram gurum yoga vriksho hi lokesmin yat preranena varditah yogacharya guru tubhyam sundaraya namo namaha. Thank you.
Namaskar all of you.